Say hello to summer with a fresh zucchini and chicken meatball. It has so much flavor, it's super tender, and we're making a quick grape or fresh tomato sauce to go underneath it. This is great served with pasta. It's also just great as a snack or an appetizer. These are gonna make everyone happy, and I'm gonna show you how to make them. Let's go. This is a meal, and you can tell from what I'm looking like, where you come in from outside, maybe working, you come home after a long day, and you want a rescue meal that just is really delicious, filling, and satisfies, but is of the season. And that is what these chicken meatballs with a fresh tomato sauce are. They are so delicious, and what's great about them is they use zucchini, which if you grow zucchini, you go to a farmer's market or a part of a CSA, you probably have an abundance of it or have seen it and want to use it. So we're gonna put zucchini in with the meatballs, delicious. We're gonna make a quick sauce using grape tomatoes that are almost always in season and have a lot of flavor. And this is just gonna be one of those things that is a true, real meal that you can put together in a pretty short time. To start, we're grating zucchini. Now, I like usually to use the medium to small zucchini, but guess what? I grow zucchini. That means sometimes I get ones the size of a Cadillac coming out of my garden. Those are massive, but you wanna scrape the seeds out of those, and then you can grate them all the same. I wash them, I don't peel them. I like to see the green. I'm not trying to hide the zucchini in there, but I am just grating them. And what I'm doing is just shredding them so they get to an easy size that we can just put them right into the meatball. Now, what I wanna do is measure out the amount I'm doing, because you never know for sure. So you put it in your measuring cup, you put it right over here, which is a strainer that I have some cheesecloth sitting in. You can do it with paper towels, but they usually kind of just fall apart or break. So that's not the easiest thing. So what I am doing is putting it right in like this. And then what we're gonna do, this is gonna be a little bit more, but I also hate to waste. If I already have it grated, we're just gonna put it in. What we wanna do is squeeze out some of this excess moisture, because otherwise it would leach out when these are roasting and cooking. So what I'm gonna do is draw this together, all this cheesecloth, and I'm gonna squeeze until, you'll see it here, look at all this. So I'm gonna squeeze pretty hard, and then we'll move on. You can see it doesn't look like it at first, but if I show you, I have the strainer in there more just to catch any pieces, but then also if I want to set it down, it doesn't sit in the liquid. But look at all of that liquid. That would be in the meatballs, which would leach out as we're making them. That's not what you want. So it really does make a huge difference to do that in the beginning. What I want to do now is actually just assemble them all together. So we're starting with chicken on these. Now you can use any meat that you prefer. I like chicken. I think especially in the summer, it's light, it can go well with bright flavors, and it's just one that everyone usually likes. So I'm going with chicken, turkey, even beef will work on these. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by putting in our strained, our squeezed zucchini. Look at all that just going right in there. I love finding ways that don't hide. I don't like the idea of hiding vegetables within things, but just that use them and utilize them. And I think that's so fun, especially if you grow it, but also summer is when you wanna feel summer. And how do you do that? You use the produce that comes out during the season. So in there we have the zucchini. Now we're just gonna assemble everything that's gonna make a very delicious, but also one that keeps moisture meatball. You want things that are gonna hold that moisture in and keep the flavor. So that's gonna be two things. One, some breadcrumbs. Fresh breadcrumbs actually hold on to that moisture and really make it delicious. Kind of like what we would do with meatloaf or anything else. To that, we're also gonna add some whole milk. That's gonna actually mix with all those breadcrumbs and soak into it, and you really want that. Now, I do wanna add an egg. I like to crack my egg separately and actually just mix it up a little bit, because if you just throw the egg in there, it's kinda hard to make sure it mixes evenly. I'm just gonna take a fork, go in, just give it a quick once over so it works into everything a little bit more even. Now we can put that in here. Just throw it right there. And then we need, notice I haven't touched the chicken or anything. I try to keep contaminants separated, so I don't wanna touch the chicken until I have to. So we're gonna put in some dried Italian seasoning. It's a workhorse, keep it in the pantry. You can do some fresh, but this will give you that impact of flavor anytime, whether it's in season or not. So we're gonna put that right in here. And then we're gonna do a little bit of black pepper, super important too. And then we need, yes, we need it, salt. You need to put in some salt. This is what's really gonna bring it together. And now we just wanna mix. To mix it, your hands really do work best. That's why we have them. Now you can put gloves on, you can use something else, but you wanna make sure you mix these ingredients really well. And that's because you want them all to be super light, super airy. Now the one thing, I'm mixing this, and guys, I'm not always perfect. I forgot, I did not put in my Parmesan grated cheese. So we are gonna do that, but what I wanna do is first mix them here pretty well. See how good they look? That looks beautiful. And now what I'm gonna do is wash my hands, and I'm gonna grate in some Parmesan cheese before we finish. Yes, you usually can put it all together and mix it once, but If you have it sitting there and you don't think about it, it will remind you. What the Parmesan does is add a seasoning and a flavor on its own that obviously makes them really good. So I want to mix that cheese in. It's just enough, because we're going to put some on top at the end too, but it's just enough. And now look, you have this beautiful mixture. You see the zucchini, we're not hiding anything. But what we can do is make meatballs. Now you could make them by hand. I usually like to use a scoop that portions them. I just find it easier. So I'm gonna go get my scoop, clean my hands, make all of them, and then we're gonna start browning them. We're gonna make a quick sauce. It really is a fast meal. I just find it super easy when you have this scoop. So I have one dirty hand I'm working with, one clean hand. Not that, I mean, they could both be dirty at this point. But you can see it's just so nice to make a scoop and be done. So you put them in here, and then you can kind of just pat them in to make sure. You of course could do this, like I said, by hand, use a big tablespoon and more kind of make nice rounds. It's whatever works for you. And once you have them all done, I have some olive oil that's heating on the stove. We want that flavor from the oil. And so what we're gonna do is take these right over, and again, I have one dirty hand, so I'm gonna pick these up. I have my oil here that's been heating, and I wanna brown them. We're not gonna fully cook them yet, but we're gonna brown them. So I'm gonna start adding them in. This is my favorite part actually, because it's when you just start to hear a slight sizzle, and it's gonna start giving that first brown on all of them. That gives really good flavor, and that's what you want here. So I'm gonna add them all in, let them brown, turn them until they're brown kind of on all sides, what's easiest to do, and then make the sauce. I'm taking off here the remaining few. I did it in 2 batches. You can do whatever you're comfortable with in your skillet. But what you can see is I want them as well browned on all sides as you can. You know, if you can only do a couple sides, it's not the easiest to sit and brown meatballs, so I understand either way. But what we have in there is a lot of fond, the browning, a lot of flavor with some of that oil that's left. So we're gonna start by taking some garlic, which I grow my own garlic, and I have some massive garlic this year, but I'm gonna just slice it. I just want a nice slice on the garlic, and we're gonna make a very quick and easy and fresh sauce. So what that's gonna start with is some good garlic. You can slice it, you can mince it. I'm actually slicing it in this case. We're gonna just warm it up in that oil and in all that flavor. So I have some garlic here sliced. We're gonna put it right in to that same pan. It's gonna get a little brown. While it's doing that, I have these tomatoes. Now you can use any of your favorite tomato. What I like about these is they don't have too much liquid, too much moisture inside of them, so they actually are, to me, perfect for this. Now I use a little serrated knife because it just really simply cuts them in half. You can use whatever works for you, but you see how they're not just oozing liquid and water out of them? That's what I like. They're gonna maintain a freshness to them, and this is all about summer. This is all about using the summer produce. So I'm gonna finish chopping these in half, and we'll add them to the garlic. Taking the last tomatoes and just putting them in my bowl so we can go over. Now, if you're here, it's only been about a minute or 2, but you can really smell that garlic permeating through. I love that. And it's just beginning to get warm. We're not trying to burn it. We're really warming it through, letting it get a little softer. It tempers that flavor a little bit. See how we're just getting a little color on it? And while we're doing this, it kind of works up some of those brown bits. But what we're gonna do is add all these tomatoes right to this pot. And I want them to blister slightly, meaning I want them to open and start just oozing a little bit, so they create somewhat of a sauce. So I'm gonna put a little bit of salt in here. We'll make sure to flavor them a little bit more when we're done, but salt helps them break down quicker, and that to me is super important. So some salt, let them cook a little bit. We'll add all those meatballs back. We're gonna finish it in the oven, almost done. In 1 to 2 minutes, it has gotten syrupy and almost sauce-like. I'm taking a few pieces of basil, we'll put more on at the end, but I'm just gonna tear a couple in there, let them just fall into it, big pieces. And what I want here is, as this is gonna be in the oven, I want that to just infuse that beautiful basil flavor lightly into the sauce. But look how it's like a sauce, but nothing too thick, just enough. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna turn the heat off, but I'm gonna add all of the meatballs back in there. And there is no rhyme or reason to this. There is no perfect answer. You're just gonna put them in, and look how beautiful they are. Now, some of mine, no, they didn't turn out perfectly round. And you know what? That's completely okay. But I'm gonna nestle them all back in. We're gonna throw this in the oven where they're gonna finish roasting, and that's also gonna finish the sauce, add all those flavors together. And I'll put some pasta in. We'll cook some pasta if you want it as, like, kind of with it as an accoutrement, and then we're ready to eat. I just took this out of the oven. Now, don't guess it. Check the temperature when you're cooking meat. Any meat, especially chicken, but any meat, because that's how you know. So I let this just come out of the oven. It was bubbling. That's what you want, because it really makes all those tomatoes burst, makes a sauce. You can see here I have some pasta. This is more, if you want to, you can serve it with pasta. I think it's great on pasta. It's not necessarily like a spaghetti meatball pasta, but it's a great one to serve with pasta. I also like when I'm finishing this up, I think at the end it needs always some fresh parm. So I will put around just some fresh parm, just kind of give it that final oomph and seasoning, and it instantly, when it hits the warm dish, it smells amazing. And you know also what I love? I do. I like to take some lemon. I think there is something about this fresh brightness, especially for a summer dish, to add a little bit of lemon zest. It just kind of, look at that. It just kind of brightens everything up. And what citrus does, it sits on your tongue and it helps you taste other flavors. I know some people think, well, then all I taste is lemon. Then you add too much lemon. You want to add just enough that it makes everything pop with a slight citrus beauty. That's all you need. So to serve this, it's as it is. I don't like to mix it all together if you're gonna do pasta. I like to serve some with it. It just kind of depends how you wanna do it. But take some of these tomatoes and look at this. Look at that sauce-like they create. And look down here, you have some of that beautiful sauce juice that you can just take and spoon over your pasta. It has so much flavor. It is so delicious. And it's ready to go. Now, I'm in here really for the meatball, and that's what I'm super excited about. What I like is how tender this meatball is. And you see right away, you see that zucchini in there. You smell all those delicious flavors. Okay. It melts in your mouth in such a good way. It is so tender, has a lot of flavor to it. One, that's because we put in like the Italian seasoning, we put in some Parmesan, but it also has so much tenderness and moisture from those breadcrumbs we put in, making sure it has a good enough amount of salt. But then these tomatoes, I'm like, it's shocking how much a simple sliced garlic, olive oil, tomato, that vibe is so good and it tastes so delicious. I don't necessarily taste the lemon, but I taste a brightness and a pop, and that's what I want. So what do I hope you do with this? I hope you get excited. I hope you see weeknight meals can be filling, full, hearty, full of delicious food. That's what this is about, because you know what? I may be doing this on my farm in Iowa, but you can do this anywhere you are, and that's what's great about this. Use fresh produce, fresh ingredients. You're gonna have the best meal you can, and it can be completely homemade. So share the video, check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe and all my other recipes. They're all on there. Make some good food, bring people together. That's the point.